A laptop screen is the only light in the room. 11:47 p.m. A 34-year-old woman signs into her retirement account. She isn't checking the market, she's checking whether she's finally catching up. She updates one number, presses calculate. Projected retirement age, 71. She stares at the screen, not because she doesn't understand the number, because she understands it perfectly. She closes the laptop, turns off the light, and goes to bed, because she has work in the morning. She's not unusual. That's exactly why this matters. For most of modern American history, the promise wasn't that everyone would get rich. It was simpler. Work hard, stay patient, and life gradually gets more secure. Today, millions feel that promise slipping. Many Americans are earning more dollars than previous generations ever did. More educated, more productive, and still say the same thing. We're doing everything right. We're not getting anywhere. So either millions of people forgot how money works, or something bigger changed around them. Somewhere between earning a living and building wealth, the rules quietly shifted, slowly enough that most people never noticed, until getting ahead started to feel exactly like trying not to fall behind. Every headline is the end of a story, every statistic is evidence, and the closer you look, the more each answer reveals another question. This is The Layers from Finance Unrated. People are earning more, yet feeling poorer. That contradiction is where every good investigation begins. When did earning more stop feeling like getting ahead? The story doesn't start with debt, it starts with expectation. For generations, middle-class life ran on a simple rhythm: work, save, build, repeat. No one expected overnight wealth, just that tomorrow would be a little better than today. That expectation is what let people take out a mortgage, start a family, plan a career instead of chasing quick money. Today, roughly a quarter of U.S. households spend over 95% of their income on necessities alone. Separate research finds 76% of Americans have little to no safety net left each month. Watch it happen in one ordinary weekend. A promotion arrives, the biggest raise of a career. It feels like progress. Then property taxes rise, insurance climbs, daycare costs more. Nothing dramatic happens, no single bill causes it. The raise didn't disappear, it was absorbed. The paycheck got bigger, life got there first. Money doesn't vanish, it moves. The real question isn't how much people earn, it's where that money goes next. When did debt stop creating opportunity and start protecting survival? Debt wasn't supposed to feel permanent. A mortgage made homeownership possible. A student loan opened higher-paying work, because tomorrow was expected to be worth more than yesterday. Picture a single mother driving home from work. Her transmission fails. Repair estimate, $2,400. No car means no job, so she reaches for the only option she has, a credit card carrying a 21% APR. The repair takes 2 days. The debt stays for years. That story repeats quietly across the country. American household debt has climbed to $18.8 trillion. Credit card balances alone have surpassed $1.3 trillion, not because people suddenly became irresponsible, but because more borrowing now preserves stability instead of creating opportunity. Two families can look identical, same income, same neighborhood, same payment, but their money moves in opposite directions. One borrows to acquire something that may appreciate, the other borrows to replace a transmission or bridge another month. The statement looks the same, the future doesn't. Debt doesn't just move money, it moves time. Every payment quietly sells a small piece of tomorrow to pay for yesterday, until tomorrow arrives already spoken for. The real divide isn't between people who have debt and people who don't. It's between debt that builds ownership and debt that protects survival. One compounds, the other only accumulates. Once borrowing shifts from building tomorrow to defending today, the greatest cost isn't interest, it's belief. What happens when people stop believing tomorrow will reward today's sacrifice? Go back to the woman in the kitchen. A job, a retirement account, a budget, a plan, everything responsible people are told to do. The numbers still told her 71. Here's what that number is built on. Americans believe they need $1.4 million to retire comfortably. The average 401 core balance is roughly $141,000, pulled upward by high earners. The median, reflecting the typical worker, sits closer to $34,000. More than half of millennials expect to outlive their savings. She went to bed and woke up carrying a future that felt a little further away. That moment never makes a headline, but millions have lived some version of it. A raise that changes nothing, a home slipping out of reach, a goal that never catches up. Each disappointment is small. Together, they tell a different story. Not work harder, but maybe it won't matter. As economists began studying this pattern, they realized it wasn't simply about debt or wages or inflation. They eventually gave it a name: financial nihilism, the growing belief that no matter how responsibly you behave, your future won't meaningfully improve. It isn't laziness, it's expectation. Once people stop expecting tomorrow to be better, they make different choices today, delaying children, avoiding investments, staying in jobs they've outgrown, not from a lack of ambition, but because hope stops feeling rational. Maybe the greatest cost of debt was never the interest. Maybe it was the quiet erosion of belief, because economies run on people believing today's sacrifice still connects to tomorrow's opportunity. Break that, and the damage reaches families, communities, generations. The woman from the beginning wakes up tomorrow, makes coffee, goes to work. Nothing about her morning has changed, except now we understand exactly what she's carrying. Why does it feel so hard to get ahead? Not laziness, not ambition, not debt alone. It was quieter. A world where earning more stopped guaranteeing progress, where debt increasingly protected survival instead of building it, and where belief itself began to erode. But systems aren't permanent, they're built, and what people build, people can change. The first step isn't working harder, it's seeing the system clearly enough to recognize when the rules have shifted. The most dangerous financial system is the one people stop believing can change. If you were starting from zero today, what would you do differently? Tell us below. Until the next layer. Millions of young Americans are giving up on homeownership before they ever get the chance to own one. Is that really a housing crisis, or has a home quietly become an investment strategy first and a place to live second? That's the next layer, on the layers.